Humphrey Bogart's image has been polished by time into something almost untouchable. The trench coat, the cigarette, the quiet moral code, the man who said little but meant everything. On screen, he embodied cool defiance and weary integrity, a hero shaped by disappointment but guided by principle. Yet the man behind that image was far more complicated than the legend suggests. Bogart was not born from hardship, but from privilege, not forged only by experience, but by emotional distance, insecurity, and deeply human flaws. His greatness did not come despite his darkness, but partly because of it. The same inner tensions that made his performances unforgettable also fueled destructive habits, volatile relationships, and private regret. To understand Humphrey Bogart fully, we must look beyond the myth and acknowledge the man who struggled with alcohol, anger, fear, and intimacy. This is not an attempt to dismantle his legacy, but to humanize it, because legends endure not by perfection, but by truth. Privilege, distance, and early emotional fractures. Humphrey Bogart entered the world far removed from the hardship his characters often portrayed. Born into an affluent New York family, he had access to elite education, social standing, and professional expectations. His father was a respected surgeon, his mother a successful illustrator and suffragette. Yet emotional warmth was largely absent. His parents were distant, critical, and often absorbed in their own lives. Bogart grew up in a household where affection was scarce and approval felt conditional. This emotional coldness shaped him deeply. Rather than learning vulnerability, he learned detachment. Rather than expressing need, he developed sarcasm and armor. These traits later became part of his screen persona, but they originated in real emotional survival. His brief naval service during World War I added another layer, reinforcing discipline and emotional restraint. When he drifted into theatre, it wasn't rebellion so much as escape. Acting offered him structure without intimacy, expression without exposure. The bitterness and cynicism audiences later admired did not come from nowhere. They were learned responses to a childhood where emotional connection was limited and trust felt uncertain. A slow rise and the formation of the Bogart persona. Bogart's path to stardom was anything but immediate. In the 1920s and early 1930s, he struggled through minor Broadway roles and forgettable Hollywood parts. Warner Brothers repeatedly cast him as gangsters and villains, rarely trusting him with complexity or romance. This prolonged period of being overlooked reinforced his insecurity and sharpened his edge. He learned to survive by being sharp, guarded, and skeptical. His breakthrough in The Petrified Forest finally revealed his intensity, but even then, recognition came slowly. Bogart didn't fit the clean-cut leading man mold. He looked worn, sounded cynical, and carried a heaviness that studios initially feared. Ironically, these traits became his greatest strengths. By the time The Maltese Falcon arrived, Bogart had refined a persona built from years of frustration. Sam Spade was not just a character, he was an extension of Bogart's worldview, morally complex, emotionally guarded, and unwilling to pretend. His success was not overnight luck, but the result of years spent absorbing disappointment and turning it into controlled intensity. Casablanca and the burden of emotional exposure. Casablanca cemented Bogart as a cinematic icon, but it also forced him into emotional territory he rarely visited off-screen. Rick Blaine's journey from cynicism to sacrifice required vulnerability, restraint, and emotional clarity. Bogart delivered all three, revealing depths audiences had never seen. Yet this exposure came at a personal cost. Bogart was far more comfortable hiding behind toughness than expressing longing or regret. The performance resonated because it was real, but it also mirrored his own internal conflict. He understood loss, compromise, and emotional distance intimately. The acclaim brought prestige and pressure, fixing his image permanently in the public imagination. From that point on, Bogart was expected to embody a specific kind of masculine integrity, even when his private life contradicted it. The more the world admired his emotional restraint, the more isolated he became. Casablanca immortalized him, but it also trapped him in a role that required him to suppress vulnerability in real life, even as audiences praised him for expressing it on screen. Alcohol as identity and escape. Perhaps the most damaging aspect of Bogart's private life was his alcoholism. Drinking was not incidental, it was habitual, ingrained, and often celebrated by those around him. Hollywood romanticized his heavy drinking, framing it as an extension of his tough guy image. In reality, it was a coping mechanism that slowly eroded his stability. Bogart drank to manage anxiety, anger, and emotional discomfort. During binges, his mood could shift unpredictably, ranging from charm to cruelty. Friends and colleagues recalled tension on set when he arrived drunk or hungover, and while his talent often carried him through, it strained professional relationships. Alcohol amplified his worst traits: impatience, sarcasm, defensiveness. It also deepened his depression. Bogart was not a reckless drunk, but a dependent one, someone who used alcohol to numb rather than celebrate. The habit followed him throughout his life, shaping how he related to others and himself. It was a quiet, destructive constant behind the legend: anger, conflict, and a combative nature. Bogart's reputation for toughness extended beyond the screen. He was known for his combative personality, especially when he felt challenged or disrespected. He frequently clashed with studio executives, directors, and fellow actors. While some admired his refusal to submit blindly to authority, others found him exhausting. His sharp wit, so effective in film dialogue, could be cutting and cruel in real life. He had little tolerance for perceived incompetence or hypocrisy, and he rarely softened his delivery. At times, his confrontations escalated toward physical threats, fueled by alcohol and pride. These conflicts often stemmed from insecurity rather than principle. Bogart hated feeling controlled, dismissed, or underestimated, emotions rooted in his early life. His anger became a shield, protecting him from vulnerability but isolating him from resolution. Though he could be loyal and generous, his volatility made sustained harmony difficult. The same fire that powered his performances often burned bridges behind the scenes. Marriage, passion, and destructive cycles. Bogart's romantic life reflected his inner instability. His first 2 marriages ended quietly, but revealed emotional disconnect and incompatible ambitions. His third marriage to Mayo Methot was far more destructive. Both were volatile, insecure, and heavy drinkers. Their relationship was fueled by passion and poisoned by mistrust. Arguments were loud, public, and sometimes violent. The press dubbed them the Battling Bogarts, and the nickname was earned. Bogart remained in the marriage longer than expected, perhaps out of guilt or loyalty, but the damage was profound. The chaos reinforced his belief that intimacy led to pain. Even his relationship with Lauren Bacall began under scandal, as he was still married when their affair started. Though Bacall ultimately brought stability, the pattern of emotional turbulence was well established. Bogart struggled to balance closeness with independence, often retreating emotionally, even when deeply attached. Love mattered to him, but trusting it did not come easily. Politics, fear, and public retreat. Bogart's involvement in politics revealed another contradiction. Initially, he took a principled stand against McCarthyism, joining other Hollywood figures to protest the House Un-American Activities Committee. It was a bold move that challenged institutional power. However, when pressure mounted and his career felt threatened, Bogart retreated. He publicly distanced himself from the cause, claiming he had been misled. This reversal disappointed many peers and exposed his vulnerability. Bogart was brave, but not fearless. He wanted to do what was right, but he also feared losing everything he had worked for. The episode revealed a man torn between conscience and self-preservation. It damaged his reputation among political allies and left him with lingering regret. Once again, the tough exterior concealed uncertainty and doubt. Bogart's retreat wasn't cowardice so much as human fear, but it underscored the gap between his image and his inner reality. Lauren Bacall, and a late-life anchor, Bogart's marriage to Lauren Bacall marked a turning point. Despite the age difference and initial controversy, their relationship was built on mutual respect, humour, and emotional balance. Bacall challenged Bogart without threatening him. She provided stability without demanding transformation. With her, Bogart softened. He embraced fatherhood and allowed himself moments of tenderness rarely seen before. While his drinking never fully disappeared, it became less destructive. Bacall offered him something he had lacked since childhood: emotional safety. Their partnership humanized him both publicly and privately. Friends noted that Bogart seemed calmer, more grounded, and more generous in his later years. Bacall stood by him during his illness, and he trusted her completely. This relationship did not erase his flaws, but it gave him peace. It proved that even deeply guarded people can change when met with understanding rather than control. Legacy, darkness, and honest remembrance. Humphrey Bogart died at 57, leaving behind an unmatched body of work and a carefully constructed myth. But his legacy is richer when we acknowledge the full truth. He was not simply a hero or a rebel. He was a man shaped by emotional distance, driven by insecurity, and haunted by habits he struggled to control. His darkness did not diminish his greatness. It explained it. Bogart poured his conflicts into his performances, giving audiences characters who felt real because they were rooted in lived experience. Remembering his flaws does not tarnish his legacy. It restores his humanity. Bogart endures not because he was perfect, but because he was honest in his art, even when he couldn't be in life. His films remain powerful because they carry the weight of a man who understood pain, regret, loyalty, and sacrifice firsthand. That complexity is what makes him unforgettable.